Mr. Chairman, I rise in opposition to H.R. 2868, the so-called Chemical and Water Safety Act of 2009, and request unanimous consent to revise and extend my remarks.
That objection so ordered.
It no longer surprises me that the majority leadership is once again racing to impose more government mandates on our farmers, ranchers, and small businesses without considering the economic impact of their actions. From cap and trade to food safety, soon to health care, rushing ill-conceived, ill-timed legislation through Congress has shamefully become the norm around here. In renaming the bill the Chemical Facilities Anti-Terror Act to the Chemical and Water Security Act, I appreciate that the authors of the bill at least acknowledge that it has nothing to do with protecting our country from acts of terrorism, but rather it is everything to do with pacifying the extreme environmental lobby. Some have said that agriculture should not be concerned about this legislation. Well, if that were true, then a coalition of agricultural groups, which includes the American Farm Bureau Federation, would not be circulating a letter to all members of Congress urging them to vote against it. Let me be clear. This bill will have a deep and negative impact on the agricultural industry. Under the current regulatory framework, which I support, to reauthorize farmers would have an extension appropriate to the small risk they impose. Under those regulations, chemical facilities are treated fairly and work with the Department of Homeland Security in a cooperative manner to enhance site security. This legislation destroys that relationship. This legislation contains absolutely no authority for the Secretary of Homeland Security to grant extensions to farmers for the future. In fact, under this bill, there's no authority for the Secretary to provide for the appropriate risk-based treatment of farmers or any other disproportionately affected groups when it reissues its regulations. That's not all. Manufacturers and suppliers of agricultural inputs like fertilizers or pesticides will also not be exempt from the non-security related provisions of the bill. Such provisions will jeopardize the availability of those widely used and lower cost agricultural inputs that are essential for agricultural production. In essence, this sets up a scenario where input supplies will be limited, costs will skyrocket, and U.S. food safety, security, and the livelihood of our farmers will be threatened. Beyond devastating the agricultural industry, this bill does not provide any additional security against acts of terrorism, which is supposed to be its purpose. National security will actually be compromised since provisions of the bill will allow citizen lawsuits in the national and homeland security arena. The Department of Homeland Security has testified that such suits will result. Mr. Chairman, this is an irresponsible and carelessly crafted piece of legislation that will impose mandates on family farms, small businesses, hospitals, and universities. It expands the environmental legal framework and under the disguise of security and fails to preserve, let alone expand, protect current security protections for our country. I urge my colleagues to oppose the bill. Yield back my time.